And welcome back. It is the Pigskin Prognosticator of Prodigious Proportions. It is the Old Gap Box podcast, and we do this as we pick the college football games each and every week. And I wanted to tell you, and I've mentioned it the last 2 weeks, my late father started this back in the 1950s when he was the play-by-play guy for Alabama, basketball, football, you name it. He was the guy who did sports all over the state, live sports. And on Wednesdays, during football season, he would do a live college football pick'em show, which he called the Pigskin Prognosticator of Prodigious Proportions. And even back in the 1950s, I mean, the point spreads were big, parlay cards, you name it, they did it. Maybe not as many people were around back then, but betting was just as prevalent, and people wanted to hear his picks on Wednesday. He did it throughout his career, and ultimately down in West Palm Beach, where he would retire, he was the first sports guy on the all-talk station WJNO, AM 1230 in the Palm Beaches. And yes, he did the Pigskin Prognosticator of Prodigious Proportions. Listen, as I embarked on my career, wherever I've gone, I've done the same thing. It's been a popular segment, a catchy name. And even on Tide 100.9 on Mondays, Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, I'm with Barry Sanderson and Wimp Sanderson. And Barry tries to say it and has a hard time. But the more you say it, I told Barry, the easier it just flows off the tongue. The Pigskin Prognosticator of Prodigious Proportions. Hey, last week, if you dialed us in, I did pick Alabama over LSU. That was an emphatic win. I had Arizona State covering. It got to 2.5 over Central Florida. And, of course, Arizona State having a heck of a year under 34-year-old coach Kenny Dillingham. We also had Ole Miss beating Georgia. A lot of people thought we were crazy going with the Rebels, but they proved us right. And we lost out on Indiana. They led 14-3. They did end up beating Michigan to go 10-0, as Kurt Signetti said in the post-game interview. What's our record? And Jenny from CBS, she said, yeah, 10-0. 10-0 indeed. They didn't win. We didn't cover, but anyway, 3-1 is not bad. And for the season, we're on the +4 side, +4, picking winners against the spread in this season, which is more difficult than ever to pick winners against the point spread. Oh, by the way, odds out now for winning the national championship. Ohio State, the favorite, at +330. Oregon at +350. And I think they'll probably meet in the Big Ten championship game. Texas at +425. Georgia hanging in there at +600. Alabama now has moved up +850. Those are the latest to win the national championship. Heisman favorite right now, Travis Hunter, the outstanding two-way player for Colorado, +100. Dylan Gabriel, the southpaw quarterback for Oregon, at +110. And Jackson Dart, after that was a movie script performance, goes out after the first 3 plays, goes to the locker room, gets x-rays, comes back, limps onto the field, and leads Ole Miss to the biggest win in the history of the program there in Oxford, Mississippi. Now for this week, here are the games that I like. Virginia, now 5-4. They beat Pitt last week. A pretty good Pitt team, 24-19. The thing about Virginia defensively, they're really good. They're athletic. They fly around. They've avoided injuries to key players. They're having a good season, a bounce-back season. The Wahoos, and they take on Notre Dame in South Bend. All the Irish have to do is beat Virginia, Army, and Southern Cal. They're going to the playoffs at 11-1. This is a 23.5-point spread. Man, oh man, I'm telling you now, Notre Dame, they blew out that hapless FSU bunch last week. And Florida State, probably the worst FBS program in the country. I don't think anybody's worse than they are. But Virginia is good. And I think Virginia comes to South Bend, hangs in there with the Irish all 4 quarters. And I love that 23.5. And I think we walk away a winner there, taking the Wahoos and the 23.5. Meantime, Athens, Georgia, Bulldogs are coming home. And man, does the team ever need to come home and get the home crowd at Sanford Stadium on their side. That's one of those venues, and it is so loud, and it gets it's such a frenzy that I think that's worth at least a touchdown for the home team. Now, for Tennessee, Nico Iamaleava, the quarterback, he went out last Saturday, 2 minutes to go, first half, did not even come back to the sidelines. Josh Heupel said it was strictly precautionary, took a shot up in the chest area, and they were just holding him out to get him ready for this week. Again, we're not quite sure what we're going to get there, but I will say that Nico's going to face just a ferocious, frenzied defense that knows that the offense at Georgia is ailing. The offensive line is not nearly as good as it has been the last 5 or 6 years. The running game is non-existent, which is a head-scratcher. Carson Beck, the quarterback, seemingly has lost a lot of confidence. No Bowers, no McConkey. There really hasn't been a receiver that stepped up for Georgia to assume that number one role. So Carson really doesn't have a guy that he can count on. But I do believe Georgia bounces back at home in a big way against Tennessee. I think Tennessee will fall into the 2-loss category with so many in the SEC. I think Georgia and Kirby Smart avoid 3 losses in the SEC, which is mind-blowing that could potentially happen. I like Georgia to cover at home. I think just playing at home, it's what they need to get things back on track. And I think Georgia suffocates Tennessee and wins by double digits. Meantime, Boston College at SMU. ACC battle. SMU now favored by 17. The Mustangs, the only undefeated team in the ACC right now. Their quarterback, Kevin Jennings, took over third week of the season and has really been solid. In fact, he's an all-conference guy. Great arm, reads the defense, makes quick, really precise throws, and I love SMU. Last week, Eric Dickerson and Craig James, they came back for a little interview there on the field. There's a lot of excitement surrounding SMU. I mean, they have not been the talk of college football since the Pony Express. That was a long time ago. And right now they're on a crash course for the college football playoffs. That's what's making this season so exciting. With BYU and SMU and Boise State and Indiana and all these teams now vying for position in that 12-team playoff. SMU is really good, but they haven't blown anybody out. They win close games. They score a lot of points, give up a lot of points. And for Boston College, Bill O'Brien's team, they've only had 2 games this season where the final margin of the game is more than 10 points. Every game they play is close. They control tempo. This Boston College team, they are no pushover. I do think SMU remains undefeated in the ACC, but I don't think there's any way they blow out Boston College by more than 17 points. So again, take Virginia in the points against Notre Dame. Take Georgia, give the 9 against Tennessee, and take Boston College in the 17 points against SMU. And as my dad used to always say, when he used to do this way back when, the pigskin prognosticator of prodigious proportions, and if you listen to us, you just might wake up Sunday morning independently wealthy.